Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today I would like to talk to you about the identity of Iblis according to the Quran. Keep in mind, I'm going to preface this by saying that this specific topic has no impact to our salvation. It does not. But it has been on my mind, so I'd like to share with you my thoughts regarding the identity of Iblis. I've been having interesting discussions with other fellow believers regarding the identity of Iblis. We all know that in Surah 18, verse 50, Iblis is called a Jinn, right? But interestingly, when we read the other Quranic passages that talk about the event in which God ordered the angels to submit to Adam, they all did except for Iblis. Like in Surah 2, verse 34, it says, "We said to the angels, submit to Adam. They all submitted except for Iblis." Okay? Now, the point of contention, or my point of contention, is that according to this verse, Iblis is, or at least was, an angel. Okay? Now, I would bring this point up, and what happens very often when I bring this point up, that Iblis is, or at least was, an angel, other fellow believers start pulling out the Arabic grammar card. Okay, the Arabic grammar card. Now, I don't have a problem with that. Arabic grammar does have a role in the Quran, but it's important to understand that Arabic grammar rules, as we know it today, is not the end-be-all answer when it comes to Quranic passages. This is because the Quran itself does not always follow Arabic grammar rules. These Arabic grammar rules came subsequent to the Quran, and yet the Quran itself does not always follow Arabic grammar rules. Everybody knows this. Moreover, it's important to understand that we should not use Arabic grammar as our scapegoat when it comes to clear Quranic verses. If this verse, Surah 2, verse 34, was the only verse that we have in the Quran, okay, no other Quranic verses existed, any person who would read this verse will understand that Iblis is an angel, or at least was an angel, okay? So since I myself am not a grammarian, I decided to do some research on this and find out what are the different thoughts and ideas regarding this verse. So I went on, of course, the best research area was YouTube. And I listened to different sheikhs and scholars about this. I listened to Adnan Ibrahim, Ash-Sha'rawi, as well as Dr. Muhammad Hidayah, and of course, Dr. Fadl As-Samarra'i, which is a well-known modern-day Arabic grammarian. And they all pretty much said the same thing. They said that the Arabic word illa, translated as except in this verse, is called an acceptive particle. And in Arabic, there are two different types of acceptive particles. Here's an article about it. It says, the first type is called muttasil, or connected, which is the main noun and the accepted noun represent the same kind or type that is being talked about. Whereas the second type is called munqati', or disconnected. The second type of acceptive expression is when the main noun represents a different type or kind from the accepted noun. And so what these grammarians are saying is that in Surah 2, verse 34, although God is addressing the angels, the acceptive particle, the nouns that come after the acceptive particle, are not necessarily part of that first group or that first type. Okay? And so they're using the Arabic grammar card. And obviously because they say that Iblis is a jinn. Okay? So of course, I wasn't very satisfied because to me, this verse in of itself is quite clear. I don't want to make Arabic grammar be the dictator of how I'm understanding this verse. So to go a bit further, I've decided to go into the Tafsirs to see what is their understanding regarding 234. Of course, guys, keep in mind, this is all secondary. But this is just to demonstrate that even this idea of pulling out the Arabic grammar card is never an end-be-all answer. So I went through Tafsir al-Tabari, okay? And in Tabari, he points out that Ahl al-Ta'wil, the scholars, those who are pondering the Quran, do not agree as to what is the identity of Iblis. Is he from the angels or not? And he pointed out that one of the scholars say that Iblis was a group from amongst the groups of the angels. Okay, so another group, okay, a unique, distinct group. Whereas another scholar pointed out that Iblis, before he committed the crime of not listening to God, he was actually an angel, and his name was Azazil. Okay, this Azazil is, I think, a Jewish thing. So according to this scholar, Iblis, before he committed the crime of not obeying God, he was actually an angel, and his name was Azazil. Whereas here, right here, it says the same thing. كان ملكا من الملائكة اسمه عزازيل. His name was Azazil. He was an angel named Azazil. And if we go to page 2 of At-Tabari, another interpretation is that Iblis is actually a tribe from the angels that are called the Jinn. So in other words, according to this interpretation, is that the Jinn are actually angels. They are a type of angels. They're a certain tribe from amongst the angels. So as we can see, guys, we see that there are different interpretations and understandings of the identity of Iblis, and that this idea of pulling out the Arabic grammar card is not the end-be-all answer. So as we have seen, despite attempting to dictate Arabic grammar rules in regards to the identity of Iblis, even then, other Arab scholars do not agree regarding the identity of Iblis. This simply teaches us that, again, this idea of pulling the Arabic grammar card should never be the end-be-all answer. But let's put all of this aside and look in the Quran and try to be as objective as possible when reading the Quranic verses regarding this topic. Let's begin with Surah 2, verse 34. It says, "We said to the angels, submit before Adam. They all submitted except for Iblis." Once again, this teaches us, if we're being completely objective, that this verse teaches us Iblis is or was an angel. Simply because God is directing the command to the angels, and they all obeyed that command except for Iblis. Now let's take a look at another verse, Surah 7, verse 11. "We created you, then we shaped you, then we said to the angels, submit before Adam." So they all submitted except for Iblis. He was not of those who submitted. Okay, so once again, the name Iblis is mentioned here. And again, the directive is to the angels. They all submitted except for Iblis. But what's more interesting is actually in the next verse, verse 12. God said, "What prevented you from submitting when I commanded you?" إِذْ أَمَرْتُكَ. Notice here, God told Iblis, what prevented you from submitting when I commanded you? This is significant. God here told Iblis that he commanded him to submit. And where do we see God commanding the jinns to submit to Adam? It does not exist. The context is king. The only time God told any group to submit to Adam was the angels. Okay? And so the angels submitted to Adam except for Iblis. Then God said, "What prevented you from submitting when I commanded you?" Very clear. Okay? This again teaches us Iblis is or was a jinn. Surah 15, verse 30. It says, "So the angel submitted, all of them together, كلهم أجمعون, except for Iblis." And notice here the phrase كلهم أجمعون, all of them together, except for Iblis. Again, there's emphasis here. that the command was given to the angels. All of them submitted, all of them together, except Iblis. To me, there's no discrepancy. We shouldn't say yes, yes, except for Arabic grammar rules. No, this is very clear. Let's take another example. Surah 38, verse 73. So the angels submitted, all of them. كلهم أجمعون. We see the same phrase, except Iblis. إلا Iblis. You see that? Again, the emphasis is there. Every single time God talks about this event in which he addresses the angels, Iblis is included in this equation. So it's very evident, brothers and sisters. So now we come to Surah 18, verse 50, which is the ultimate verse in question. This verse reads, "We said to the angels, submit to Adam, so they all submitted, except for Iblis." So again, God here is repeating the fact that Iblis is, or at least was, an angel. Okay? And again, we have seen that throughout the entire Quran. So keep that in mind. Then something interesting is being said in this verse. كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. He was of the jinn, and thus he defied the command of his Lord. Okay, so here we see something interesting. God is commanding the angels to submit to Adam, except for angel Iblis. God says he was of the jinn, and thus he defied the command of his Lord. This simply teaches us one of two things, okay? So I have my understanding is that this means one of two things. The first one is that the jinn are simply a type of angel. Think of it like you have an army and there are different ranks in that army. The same thing. You have angels and there are different ranks of angels. The jinn are a type or a rank of angels. Iblis was a jinn, which is a rank or a type of angel. Okay? And this is probably why, if we go to Surah 34, verse 40 and 41, we will see that this is probably why idolaters have confused the worship of angels to the worship of jinn. It says, on that day when he gathers them all together, then says to the angels, was it you that these used to worship? And then the angels will say, be you glorified, you are our master, not them. In fact, they used to worship the jinn, and most of them had faith in them. So how is it that people are confusing angels to the jinns? So as we can see, it's very possible, at least for my first theory, is that the jinn are a type or a rank of angels. Now the second idea is actually in the word kana, which is translated as was. Kana min al-jinn, he was of the jinn. Now in Arabic, kana, which means was, in Arabic, kana can also signify become a jinn, to become something, or something changed, and thus this happened. So let me give you an example. We'll go to Surah 2, verse 184. Okay, regarding the siyam. It says, فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا. But whoever among you becomes or became sick. Kana, whoever became sick or becomes sick. You see how the word kana is used? So this may signify that Iblis, after disobeying God, he transformed into another group called the jinn. You see that? So this is my understanding. This is why I say Iblis is, or at least was, an angel. This verse indicates for us that Iblis is an angel is an angel which is from the rank of the jinn, or that Iblis became or transformed into the jinn category. Okay? Bottom line is that Iblis is or was an angel. And again, we have seen, even with the Tafsirs, that this is not a foreign concept. Now, let me point something else out here. There's this idea that angels do not have free will, but the Quran doesn't say that. Like in Surah 66, verse 6, which is what is often quoted, okay, where it says that the angels do not disobey God with whatever He orders them, and they do what they are told. This verse does not indicate they do not have free will. Okay? It just says that these angels obey God. This is why God says, وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. They do what they are told. Okay? So they do what they are told. And the fact that in Surah 34, verse 41, the fact that God is questioning the angels, it means that the angels did or do have free will. Okay? Otherwise, if they are doing what God is, if they cannot disobey God, then obviously there's no point of even asking them the question if these idolaters worship them. Okay, but not to get too far away from the topic, to coming back to 1850, كان من الجن. Okay, كان من الجن. He is or became a jinn, and as a result of that, فسق عن أمر ربه. He disobeyed the command of his Lord. So the fact that he was the rank of the jinn, or he became a jinn, and thus he broke the laws or the command. You see that? So there's a correlation between the ranks of jinns and having that free will, or that he transformed to a jinn and thus he broke the command. Bottom line though, we see from the Quran that Iblis is, or at least was, an angel. Wassalamu alaikum.